Now, 95.9 FM WATD presents Friends with Benefits, exploring relationships, social issues, and life stories. Be a part of the show at 781-837-4900. Friends with Benefits with your host, Brian Stratton.
95.9 WATD, Friends with Benefits here on a Wednesday night in the first week of August. Beautiful week we're having. And Ryan is our engineer behind the board tonight. Ryan Sinton, how are you, buddy?
I'm great. How are you, Brian?
Good to see you, my friend. I see that you're drinking ginger beer tonight, which is
delicious.
Delicious and nutritious.
Yeah, far from. It's kind of like a soda.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's just like ginger ale, you know.
All right, folks out there, and
I do have my off the tracks, you know, Brian. Can't be healthy all the time.
We still love you, man. And we have the erstwhile sports talk show add-on, Josh Stratton tonight, my buddy. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing excellent as always. Yourself?
I'm doing just fine.
Excellent.
And we want to give a shout out to our sponsors, just to get things rolling here, because we are very thankful to have the Longhorn Steakhouse.
Yes.
That's always our go-to. They've been a main sponsor for us for probably 2 years now. We give out gift cards too, $50 gift cards at CTA Management at rocketmail.com. That's CTA Management at rocketmail.com. You can just easily in the subject heading put gift card. We pull you out of a hat, and we have one lucky winner a week with that $50 gift card. Josh, you know all about the Longhorn.
I know a whole lot about the Longhorn. What I can tell you about the Longhorn is it has the best porterhouse steak on at least the South Shore. I haven't traveled that far in my 23 years, so
okay.
You know I might have a little bit of a small control group. But yeah, Longhorn Steakhouse, best $30 porterhouse a man can buy. Go there. It's right off exit 12 in Pembroke, and you're going to love it.
They have a lot of places. They have one in Raynham. They have one down in Wareham, and just a bunch of them. Also the Lodge in Randolph, another $50 gift card. Put the Lodge in the subject heading there right on Route 28. You haven't been to that one, but
I haven't yet.
It's like a ski
Small
lodge.
Small control group.
It is. It's great, though. They have great live entertainment on Friday and Saturdays. It looks like a ski lodge inside with a nice big fireplace. Outside is a new patio. They've actually started work on this summer. It should be done by the middle of August here. So that's the good news. It should be done right around then. So that's the Lodge in Randolph, a $50 gift card. Adam Huck and Steve Hallahan are the main guys behind that one. And also Burton's in Hingham.
Ooh, speaking of a good steak, Burton's in Hingham?
Burton's in Hingham.
Spectacular steakhouse.
$25 gift card. Just put that in the subject heading on CTA Management, rocketmail.com, Burton's. And, it's going to be one of those summers where Burton's is going to break records, because I was just there the other night. Once again, a line out the door just about. They have the little outdoor area. And they're all over the place, too.
It looks like the kind of crowd you draw at, a Boston restaurant. This is right off exit 15 in Derby Street in Hingham.
Correct.
They are making a huge, huge impact.
They are. And that's our buddy Steve Slickus. He's the man over in Hingham. But there's several Burtons also all around the South Shore. So anyways, people, I just wanted to get through that at the beginning here. We're going to have our special guest, Michael Felger, coming on the show in moments. Michael's calling from the satellite. He's up in Boston right now, but he'll be taking your calls at 781-837-4900, 781-837-4900. That's Felger and Maz, Michael Felger, and he'll be on the show. Also, email if you are too shy and you're radio phobic. You can send us an email at ctamanagement@rocketmail.com. Very easy to connect that way too, to express anything you want to say. Just been one of those years where most of our correspondence has been through email, not as much on the phone. We have a plethora of emails. I thumb through them. I appreciate everybody's discourse when they send positive and negative. It's not always positive, of course, but we won't talk.
Bats 1,000.
Yeah, and we won't talk about food and health food and all that. And so, Josh, let's get back to you here.
Sure.
So you haven't been on the show since right around the Super Bowl, or was it a little after?
When football season dies down a little bit, there's obviously less to talk about in New England as far as sports goes. But I like getting in here. I like doing the sports shows. I've never had an opportunity, obviously, to go live on the air with Michael Felger unless I'm calling from my car and he's making fun of my phone reception.
That's right. So let's hope he's calling from a landline tonight.
Michael Felger, if you are not calling from a landline tonight, I'll be very, very disappointed with you.
Last time we had Bob Ryan on from ESPN and the Boston Globe, who was in studio here, talked about his book, Scribe, My Life in Sports, which was a fabulous book. I went through that front to back. And Bob Ryan is a South Shore guy. He lives right in Hingham. He's a music lover, too. Likes the WATD 95.9, is a fan of the station. So it's always good to have these guys. And Jerry Trupiano.
Yeah, we talked to him on Super Bowl week, leading up to the Seahawks Patriots Super Bowl 49. Obviously, it was a little bit before the Deflategate stories had come out because I don't remember talking to him about a whole lot of that.
No, it's funny. I think it had come out, but it wasn't such a big deal quite yet.
Well, I think it was just Mortenson's report at that point, which we figured out now came directly from VP of Football Operations Mike Kensel. Also a false report. Going to get into that with Felger a little bit later.
Yeah. Oh, there's no question. And also, we had Trupiano. We were going to have Jerry on during the baseball season, too, but, the baseball season has been a bust.
Yeah, it's really, really hard to do a baseball show about the Red Sox.
It's almost painful. But on the line, we have Michael Felger. Michael, how are you?
Good. How are you doing? Sorry I'm late.
Yeah, no problem. Welcome to Friends with Benefits 95.9 WATD, and I'm here with Josh Stratton. And Michael, let's go back. I want to talk a little bit about your background because you're a Wisconsin guy, and what kind of astounds me from listening to the great Felger and Maz show is that I don't see much of an affinity toward your Wisconsin teams.
I have it, but no one wants to hear it.
Well, I'm asking, Mike. I'm asking.
You asked me, what's my first team? It's the Brewers. It's the Packers.
Really?
And it's the Bucks. But
the Bucks. Okay.
Not a cheesehead, huh?
Who wants to hear me talk about Sidney Moncrief and Paul Alder?
Oh yeah, but when we had Quinn Buckner, boy, that was a coup.
I'll give you a half hour on Quinn Buckner if you want it.
No, I think we'll forego Quinn. But you had Dave Cowens, one of the great Celtics, for about a year or two. Do you remember that?
Of course, I remember that. It was huge when he came back and went to the Bucks. Absolutely.
He was.
I have lived in Boston for going on 28 years now, so.
Okay, but it's funny because I'm originally from California during my young years, and I came out here full time probably in the early 80s and converted to be a fan. Of course, back then I was a San Francisco 49ers fan before Joe Montana. I'm your age, so I had to suffer through Steve DeBerg and the California Golden Seals out in the Bay Area. So sports was terrible out there. I think people out here in the Northeast are so damn spoiled with the success of these Boston teams, which, of course, I love. But it just seems like season after season, this might be one of the worst sports seasons I've seen around here. And a decade.
And we're coming off a Super Bowl championship, too. So
that's right.
That's saying something.
Your take on that?
Well, that's right. It's the worst season we've had in forever, and we're coming off a Super Bowl. So it's a great time, but I think Boston has. To me, it doesn't feel like the passions have changed that much from the 80s and 90s before we were winning championships. It feels like people were just as into it, just as passionate. And I don't know, maybe the business wasn't as big, but I don't know, if sports radio existed in the 80s, I think it would sound the same.
Well, it's funny you say that because back then it was a very small, not small market, but you had WEEI, you had Dale Arnold basically working 8 hours a day doing his show. And right around when Morgan Magic came, I don't know if you remember that part of the Red Sox in the 1990.
Of course.
That's probably when you first got here, right in that area or close to it. We're the same age, so you must have been in college around here.
No, I was here for Morgan Magic. I arrived in 88, so I think McNamara might have still been the manager technically when I first got here. But, right. Look, if sports radio existed in 1986, and it did, I don't mean to say that it didn't, but, full-time, 24-hour sports talk like we do now, in 86, it would have sounded exactly like it sounds now, I think.
Well, it's funny you say that because in 86, it was sports talk. It was once a week. It was Eddie Andelman on a Sunday, every Sunday, and that was just about it. And you couldn't penetrate those lines if you paid the engineer off. It was it was desperation.
Similar to trying to call in on the Felger and Matt's program.
Well,
it's similar,
yeah. How many lines do you guys have over there, Mike?
We have We have 6, and we do well on the calls. We do. The simulcast helps, but we're lucky.
Well, you make them quick, and let's get to the Red Sox too right now. And we're talking to Michael Felger of the Boston Herald, and the Heralded Felger and Maz show on from 2 to 6 Monday through Friday on 98.5, the Sports Hub. The 99 restaurant is giving away free meals to children after a Red Sox win. So at this point, there's a lot of starving children in Massachusetts. I'm finding out it's almost famine.
Yeah, the 99 has not been giving out a lot of free plates of chicken tenders. That's for sure.
No, it's disgusting. But it's just to and by the way, Jordan's Furniture isn't going to be giving away any.
No, Jordan's will be keeping all their couch money this year.
But those signings, Michael, were horrendous. I mean, and at the time, I know you knew it, and everybody was jumping on the pitching staff. But to me, the pitching staff is actually maybe the starters. Most of them have done better than I thought. It's the hitting that I'm disappointed with. I think the hitting has been so inconsistent and bad. It's been terrible. I mean, your take on that?
Yeah, no question. The one that, I'm second-guessing myself that I should have been stronger against was Hanley Ramirez. I mean, everyone knows what this guy is and what he was. And he's considered one of the least competitive guys in the entire league, one of the worst professionals, if you will, in the league. Tremendous talent that left 2 teams, and they were thrilled to let him go. And that one was obvious. And at the time, I didn't second guess it like I should have. Because you like the bat, you like the talent, you wanted them to get better off the last place season, so you were glad they were spending money. And at the time when you go out and sign a big name player, you get swept away in it, and you want your team to try to get better and spend the money to get better. And the Sox were doing it, so you go along with it. But if you take a harder look at that one, Hanley Ramirez, boy, he's bad for business, I think. Bad for clubhouse business. I mean, Sandoval, I still think it's going to be okay. I do. I mean, this year's been bad. It's a disgrace. But ultimately, I think he does care. I think he's a good ball player, and he's not worth $19 million. But I'd like to think at the end he's going to be okay. Hanley, I would trade yesterday.
Sure, Mike, and let me tell you, I'm 23 years old. I'm a young Red Sox fan in comparison to some of you guys on sports radio. But Hanley Ramirez was one of my least favorite signings I've ever seen come out of the Red Sox organization. Pablo Sandoval I was kind of down on too, but I mean the guy just doesn't care. He flat out doesn't care. He can't play left field, and it almost reminds me, back when they were letting go of Manny, when Manny was just moping around Fenway, and it was just like putting absolutely no effort into his last year in a Red Sox uniform.
Yeah, it feels like, man, they got away from that thing they did in 2013 when they signed a bunch of guys who cared, and clubhouse guys and professional guys, and boy, the team has just fallen so far from that
in such a short time.
And I'm not just talking about record. I'm not talking about the team obviously won the World Series. This is in last. I'm just talking about the way they carry themselves. It's just night and day.
781-837-4900, 781-837-4900 on the listener line. You know what? It's funny you say that because to me, the most egregious thing is Rick Porcello. And by the way, we're going to minimize this Deflategate talk because I'm sure you've had plenty of that on your plate. And how much more can we talk about this? I know it keeps on changing and metamorphosizing, but I just got to get some Red Sox in, okay?
No problem.
Porcello, when they signed him to that extension, did they really have to sign him at that particular time?
No.
I mean, they didn't. They had enough sample size. Did they see enough of Rick Porcello in those 4 starts or 3 starts, and then they signed him to that long-term deal for 18, 19, 20 million?
Yeah,
He's not a 20. And I know you said, Mike, you said it the day it happened.
Oh my God, ridiculous! I mean that one to me is a classic example of just going off of a spreadsheet or a formula on a piece of paper versus watching the guy pitch. I mean, he just doesn't have great stuff. It's okay, but he doesn't throw hard. The single ball pitcher who it's not consistently down, and so in the middle of the rotation, we just look at his stuff. But I think the team, gets swept away with, on this thing where they're not going to sign pitchers over 30. So instead, they're signing mediocre pitchers in their 20s.
Yeah, and
it's like that doesn't, the guy's got to be able to pitch. I don't care if he's 25 or 35.
Oh, he could be 38 if he's throwing a 95-mile-an-hour slider. That's fine. But I mean, Porcello, it seemed like they rushed into it just because they were so concerned about the pitching, and I hate to say it, but they're concerned about maybe finishing last place.
Well, like a knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was like they panicked. They're under the gun and they broke to the pressure. But now we're sitting here looking at another last place finish, and we got Rick Porcello on the line for God knows how much money.
Sometimes I do think they spend money just to spend money. Like, do they need Popo and Hanley?
No.
Do they have to give Porcello $20 million right now? But I sort of think like they sometimes get into this thing where it's, it is, we didn't sign Lester. Our payroll's down, so we got to spend $20 million on someone, and so let's give it to Rick Porcello, right? And I just think sometimes they get carried away in that.
Yes, we're speaking to Michael Felger of the Felger and Maz Show, 98.5. Mike, let's get into some other things. It's funny. Have you watched any of the ESPN 30 for 30s?
I'm sorry, say that again?
I'm sorry, have you got to watch any of the ESPN 30 for 30s at all?
I do. Some of them, not as much as I would like. They're excellent, but I don't see all of them.
It's just an amazing. And we had Bob Ryan on the show 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. He was in studio and was promoting his book. I don't know if you got to see that, or knew he wrote a book. But we were talking about that ESPN thing. And from your perspective, is that some of the best documentaries that you have ever seen of sports figures, has-beens, wannabes, just washed-up players or whatever?
Yes, the content's excellent, right? It's from a time from years ago when I was younger and approached sports differently, and like all those three, from even something like a Marcus Dupree or those sort of things. But yeah, Simmons did an excellent job on that. ESPN's going to miss him on that.
It's a slam dunk, and it's great because I got to see one with Randy Moss, which you get to see these guys in high school and their upbringings, and they actually have physical footage of where these guys grew up, the neighborhoods.
Randy Moss playing high school football, isn't that something?
Well, he was a phenom, and obviously, and he ended up at Marshall. He ended up in Marshall, of course, and but the point is that it illustrates, and it really takes you back to a time when Michael, obviously Michael and I are around the same age, so we saw all this. We were very impressionable. The media wasn't there like it is now, and now it's going back. I don't know if you got to see the Brian Bosworth one.
Oh, I did.
The Bos.
Yeah.
Did you get to see that?
Parts of it.
Yeah, another amazing thing. You forget some of these players that were on top for 2 or 3 years and just fell off the face of the earth, and now we're just regular people. It's almost sad. It's like I was watching. We were watching actually your show today on Comcast Sports, and it got interrupted by the Willie McGinnis induction into the Hall of Fame, which I know it's these Hall of Fame things for teams are just insufferable. I can't deal with it.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. But you know what? There was another guy getting inducted too. Did you know that?
Say it one more time.
Did you know there was another former Patriot getting inducted with Willie McGinnis today?
Yes, Houston Antwine.
Oh,
I know of him well before my day, but was a great defensive lineman in his day.
I'm glad you've heard of him.
Yeah,
Mike,
I'm glad you got the memo.
We were like, who is Houston Antwine?
Not only that, he was in the smallest little print you could see. You have Willie McGinnis. You have all these banners out there, and Houston. Oh, by the way, Houston Antwine's getting inducted too while we're at it.
Congratulations to Houston Antwine.
Yeah, well, I think he's passed away, but they had all the old school Grogan, Pete Brocks, all the old school Patriots, and that's another thing, Mike. Is it's funny because it shows the difference between football and baseball. If you go back to baseball, the Red Sox in the '60s, you've got all these players. You remember Jim Longborg, you remember Karl Yastrzemski, you remember all those great players from the '70s. But you go to the Patriots. There's it seems like the history doesn't even start to
that's
practically non-existent.
I mean, in this market, but if you go to another market, I mean, if you go where I'm from, and you talk about '60s, you talk about
Vince Lombardi,
and just on down the line, and Paul Hornung and Paul Kramer and Willie Davis, and where I'm from, the Packers are like the Red Sox, and the Brewers are new money. So this is one of the few areas where baseball really has that resonance. But I think it's changing. I'm pretty confident that by the time, hell, it's already a football town. It's not even close. But in terms of the generational thing and how you look back at it and romanticize it and your childhood, when kids who are in their teens or 20s right now get to be my age in their mid 40s, it's the Red Sox are going to be it's a way rear view mirror. You're not going to recognize it what it is now.
Now, did you get to see Hank Aaron as a Brewer?
did I get to see games in Milwaukee with the Brewers?
No, did you get to see Hank Aaron perform as a Brewer?
I did, yes, absolutely. His last 2 years as a DH, yes, I remember it well.
Okay, you got to tell me about this because I have his baseball card from 1976, and it's a very old Hank Aaron, by the way. It's I never think he hit the Willie Mays threshold in '73.
Sure.
Because Willie.
I think I don't know if you can look it up, but how many home runs did he hit his last 2 years? I think
12.
I think he hit some home runs. I remember him hitting home runs the last couple of years.
Mike, he hit 12.
And it was a DH, so he wasn't out there, like Mays bumbling around in center field. He just came up 4 times, and I think he hit some home runs at the end.
All right, so I know this on the top of my head. 75, I think he hit 12. In 76, I think he matched it and hit another 12. So, but I don't know if he was full time with them. I have no idea. I just remember. I don't know if they cranked him out there. I mean, was it like the David Ortiz kind of thing? He's going to hit 500. So, David's still a pretty viable hitter, but I mean, I think Hank was definitely on the. Way on the way out at that point.
Sure. I mean, it was over, but I don't know. In the mid-70s, 12 home runs, I don't know if that was horrible.
Exactly. Now, we're going to get over back to your show from 2 to 6, Monday through Friday on 98.5, the Sports Hub. Michael, have you ever thought of expanding? This is an email, by the way, I got here on our email thing. Have you any chance that you'll ever, if you ever were offered a job with ESPN, to get out of this market into go national?
Sure. Is that email or rooting for that? Feels like I think a lot of people would welcome that.
No.
I've never been offered anything like that. So, I mean, not really. So,
are you happy just being in this Boston market, or would you ever consider that role of moving onward and forward, and kind of like some other guys have done it, obviously.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
I would never say never. I would consider anything, but I've always valued, and I just think in terms of having an impact, being one of the big voices in a big market is that's a lot of impact. I just think you reach more people and influence more people, and I mean, I'm not putting this right, or just you sort of mix it up. I mean, like I don't know, Mike Francesa in New York, right? He's just New York, but he's important to a lot of people in New York, and he's right in the middle of it, and it's impactful. Bob Costas is national and reaches more people nationally, and blah blah blah. But does Bob Costas push the buttons of any sports fan? Right? It's like he's sort of in neutral across the board, where Francesa or someone like that is hugely impactful to a lot of people in one city. And I think being a major voice in one big city is something to be said for that. It's different, and I think in some ways more impactful.
It's funny. I think you're spot on that, definitely, for sure. And it's funny. Bob Costas, for you and I, feels like he's been around forever. He's like the Dick Clark of sports. Like Dick Clark was, he was America's favorite teenager. Yeah, for 50 years. I mean, this guy looked the same. Costas is the same way. He looks exactly the same. He hasn't changed.
Sure, but Mike, if you were ever to move to a bigger market, or not bigger market, another large market, I should say, don't you think it would be difficult at all for you, rather, to move to another market, like other than Boston? I mean, you're kind of the guy everyone loves to hate.
I don't know if I'd work in another market. Meaning, I'm not a professional broadcaster. Like, I still don't know how to talk behind a microphone. I don't sound right. I didn't go to broadcasting school. I don't. I have none of that. Like, I don't sound like half the guys you hear on the air who are professional broadcasters. But the reason it works here is because I've been here so long and I've covered the teams. And I think at the end of the day, here in Boston, we don't care. I don't think we care as much what you sound like as long as you're providing entertaining content. I think in other markets, they want you to sound like you know what you're doing.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's an incredibly
very
valid
good point. Yep.
and same with national, right? I mean, if you're going to do that, you got to sound right. You got to know how to project. You got to have that voice and all that. And I don't have that. So it's my axe can only work in a few places.
Josh?
Yeah. Mike, going back a little bit back to the Super Bowl, you were on Radio Row doing a show with one David Portnoy of Barstool Sports back in February. And I remember listening to the show, and back then, Dave Portnoy seemed very
Adamant?
Adamant, concrete, whatever you want, some sort of hard element. That he was so positive that this sting operation that has become the Deflategate that we know was perpetrated by, the Ravens and the Colts and the one and only Mike Kensel, who has now become a household name in New England. And at the time, I heard you, and you didn't say anything specific, but you sounded like you weren't really buying what he was selling. How have your thoughts changed now?
Well, I think the league was out to get the Patriots, and they got them. I don't know if I disagreed at the time. Certainly Mike Kensel was involved, but if there was nothing there, he would have had nothing to go after.
Well, that's I guess that's the easy answer, Mike. But at the same time, you don't think that Kensel had a little bit more out? You don't think it was back from when him and Belichick had that whole shtick in New York? You don't think that could have resonated a little bit?
No, I don't. I think there might be people in the league office who hate the Patriots because the Patriots are sometimes hateable. The league has to field complaints about the Patriots time and time again. See, look, I don't think it's about their success, and I don't think it's a Jets thing. I think that they can be a difficult team to deal with and a difficult team to sort of handle from the league level, and I think some of those league employees have been going back and forth with the Patriots on a number of things over the years and probably don't love them. And, got a chance to, catch them in the act, if you will, and they think they did. And I think that's what it's about. I definitely think the Pats had a target on their back, but just not for the reasons a lot of other people do.
Hey, Mike, so now we only have a question or two left for you, and thank you for coming on the show, of course. Let me ask you this. You're a sports fan. Are you more of a sports observer? I've turned into more, of course, I'm from Boston. I rib all my West Coast musician friends and whatnot that this is Title Town. Stay away from us. This is, we own the sports market across the United States, blah, blah, blah. And, but is that how are you more versatile in that way? You just like the sports? You just like watching the sport?
Well, I'm not a fan like I was as a young man. And I'm not a fan in a classic sense. I want the Patriots to do well because it's good for business, and I'm a sports talk guy in Boston, and so it behooves me for all the teams to be good. I want all the teams to be good, even a team like the Celtics that people think I hate, but I want them to be relevant. I want them to do well, and so I want them to win, and I want them to contend for championships, and I want that out of all the teams. But I want that because that's my vocation, and it's just much more interesting when they're contending, and that's that. It's not like, hell, when I was 13 years old and the Brewers lost the World Series, I was one of those kids that didn't go to school the next day.
Yeah, I was going to say, have you ever wept?
I don't do that anymore, but who does? I'm 46, so I don't know. I would like to think that there are 46-year-olds who still do that, whether they do my job or any other job.
Have you ever wept openly after a team you love lost?
Say it again?
Have you ever wept openly? Let's cry your eyes out because your team lost.
No secrets here, Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, of course. Yeah, I was bawling like a child. I was 12 years old. Yeah, I couldn't handle it.
Was that with the Harvey Wallbangers? But they won that year. Which game are we alluding to?
No, I'm talking about the Brewers in '82. They lost the World Series, Game 7 to St. Louis.
Oh, that's right. They lost it. See, over in Boston, we think they won because we just, we don't have, that's not in the Rolodex in our mind.
But, if there's any team I sort of feel that way about, it's the Bruins, for whatever reason. In Milwaukee, when I was a kid, I adopted the Bruins as a team. We didn't have one, obviously, in Milwaukee, and so that's a team that I'm a fan of, right? And I'm really a fan of hockey.
Oh, yeah, well, of course.
Hockey, and I root for hockey. I want hockey to be important. I want hockey to be relevant, and so I root for the Bruins for that reason as well. And so, that's the one team. The rest, the rest I want to do well, but probably just not for the reasons as most of the fans around here.
I got to ask you what that music is. What are you at the Foxy Lady or something?
No, I'm jumping out of my car and I'm heading into Comcast, so I do have to hop.
I love it. Hey, thanks for coming on the show, Michael, and we'll talk to you down the line.
Okay, guys. Thanks so much.
Okay, thanks so much. You're listening to 95.9 WATD Friends with Benefits. We'll be right back after these commercial messages.
Hey, this is Steve Lukather from Toto.
Hi, this is Kenny Loggins.
This is Ted Nugent, celebrating the American dream.
Hi, this is Mike Love of the Beach Boys.
Hi, this is Daryl Hall.
Hi, this is Robert Lamb with Chicago.
Hi, everybody. It's Joe Walsh.
Hello, everybody. This is Graham Nash from the Hollies and from Crosby, Stills & Nash and Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young, of course. Right now, you're listening to me on my friend Brian Stratton's show. It's on WATD 95.9.